and welcome to this session of the QM East Regional Conference titled Fast Tracking New Online Instructors. Please join me in welcoming your presenters. They will introduce themselves now and begin the presentation.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer Jaswell. I'm an instructional designer and technologist for Stony Brook University. I'm also a faculty member for the Online Learning Consortium for their Instructional Design Certificate Program. And I've been working in the field of instructional design and technology now for about 15 years. And this presentation was developed with my coworker, Linda Unger. She may join us a little bit later, and we'll go into more details and more information as we're going. And our focus is going to be on fast tracking new online instructors. And if possible, can you go to the address on like your phone or a tablet or another device near you and go to joinpd.com, which is available up here on the top. And it'll ask you for a 5-letter code, which for us today is KMRLB. Key Muffins Raise Lovely Bandanas. And the reason we're doing this is just so that I can get some feedback from you during the session, and I just have a few polls embedded in. So once I see a few students joining us, then I will just go and start off on the next slide. And thank you so much for joining in and connecting. And I'm just going to leave it open for a little bit more. And the address is joinpd.com. And I usually just do it on my cell phone while we're going forward. And just to kind of set forward the frame in mind of what started this. This was started when my coworker Linda Unger transferred to our department, which is the Center for Excellence in Learning and Teaching. We are CELT at Stony Brook. And we started this program to really go and set forth a Quality Matters framework in mind, to go and help our faculty members develop their online teaching and to build according to Quality Matters best practices as they were moving forward to teach online. So since we have a few connected, I'm going to continue. And just as always, as instructional designers, we always start off with learning objectives. So my objectives for you today are to hopefully identify some of the challenges of efficiently training and supporting new online instructors, and to be able to describe some of that advantage of starting faculty with that Quality Matters frame in mind. And also comparing and contrasting some immersion training methods with other delivery modes, because that was one of the big concerns that we had moving forward when we started to build this process, was what was the best method to actually train our faculty in. And I have a poll for you. So my poll is, and it should pop up on your cell phone if you've already joined in on the Pear Deck, and it is, have you previously used Quality Matters as a guiding set of principles for your new online instructors? And the reason that we're asking this question is because usually we think of QM as a reflective process rather than as a proactive one. So I definitely think that starting with that framework helps to go and set new instructors on the right path and start them building towards those courses that will eventually have QM certification or other types of online certification, and give them better building blocks to start with. And we definitely have some responses. So we're kind of at somewhere in the middle on this starting process of yes and no, that we've kind of used it and kind of haven't used it. And one more poll for you. What have you found to be the challenges of training and supporting new online instructors efficiently? I know personally for myself, these are many of the ones that I have encountered over the years. As I teach for an online learning consortium, and actually my first activity for my first class ends up being faculty buy-in as being one of the largest challenges to new online instructors. Having to go and engage in buy-in, how do you get people to come and agree with you? How do you go and start to create that relationship with your faculty members that they're able to go and work with them and have that just relationship where you're able to go and build something together is always one of the hardest parts. Another one that always becomes that challenge is also workload. And our faculty are always very concerned with workload, which I think still leads to that buy-in issue that we're seeing as well. And that misunderstanding of best practices is definitely one of those issues. A lot of people think you can simply throw your content up online and have that same face-to-face experience, and it's not the same at all. And it really does require a rethinking of our courses. And for our part at Stony Brook, our big challenges were on faculty misperceptions of online teaching. And they really lacked a strategic plan and vision for online, as well as a huge lack of administrative buy-in. That has changed significantly in the past month. We have definitely started to get more administrative acceptance, more administrative awareness of just what our group does, how we promote best online teaching practices, and even in this case of the coronavirus crisis, how we can still use those best practices to at least smooth out the rest of the semester rather than just switching to this emergency remote teaching method, which is different from the formal development of online learning. We also had a lack of awareness of what online teaching best practices were, which is one of the reasons why we originally started with Quality Matters. And we have also worked to integrate OSCAR. OSCAR is the Open SUNY Course Quality Review Rubric, which is another set of criteria that, as Stony Brook is part of SUNY, we have also adopted. So we try to align to not just one set of criteria, but both, to go and make sure that we're working with those best practices. And a lack of experience as an online student or instructor was another big concern for us moving forward. And it was one of those items that led us to our eventual immersion process for new online instructors. And we really needed a stealth approach to introduce Quality Matters or other quality review rubrics to our community. Much of our community was very against any type of evaluation and seeing it as something negative rather as a reflective process where they would be able to further engage in design and to make things better. They saw it as more of a punishment. So we just needed that kind of stealth approach to introduce it. And then that was how we came about with our model. And we addressed our challenges with 3 different components. Our 3 main components were an online syllabus template that we created in Word with coaching comments. And I am going to show these 3 elements later on as we go. And the second part of it was our course shell. Our course shell is actually a course template inside of Blackboard that we aligned to Quality Matters standards 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the last one that we also worked to build was our asynchronous immersion workshop that is also aligned to Quality Matters standards. And the reason we chose this kind of 3-pronged model was because we wanted to go and embed as much as we could of best practices. So some of the things that we did, for example, we're even going a step further to integrate commentary for all of our syllabi on this meets this Quality Matters standards if you include it in your template and if you include it in your syllabus. And we also did that type of messaging throughout the course shell and to a smaller extent also even in the immersion workshop. That was a process that we had started. And for our online syllabus template, was really created to go and help showcase what types of information were required for our instructors. Why was it important to be delivering this type of information? So rather than just saying that they need to include delivery mode and structure, we actually went and provided comments to give feedback on why it actually was important and what questions the faculty members should be considering as they are looking through these online course templates. Because we found that that was one of the big questions. Even if we gave the prompt, it didn't necessarily mean that the question was answered sufficiently. And as we know with Quality Matters, we're always not just trying to go and say, is it there or not there? We're trying to go and say, is it met beyond a certain standards to be better than average? And that was how we came about answering and putting in the annotations throughout the syllabus template. And I can always also show you the syllabus in the course shell and the immersion template later so that you can take advantage of the end of the time to show that. And our course shell. Our course shell we work to align with QM standards 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And this was the shell that we eventually ended up using as the template for our immersion workshop. Some of the things that we did within the template were we actually created hidden items within the template itself that we labeled as being for instructor only. Only the instructor can go and see them when they're inside of Blackboard. And we listed all of the information that was needed for the instructor. We gave them the information as to what should be included, why was it important to have modules or weekly folders to go and help organize content, what are the things that should be located inside it. And also, we then linked it to the Quality Matters standards. So for example, by breaking things out into modules, including the activities, including everything that needed to be engaged with the student, that started to meet Quality Matters standards 4.1 through 4.6. And we actually labeled the items in our course template to go and meet these Quality Matters standards. And this also actually led to an activity which takes place as well later on. And also to go and show you, we also had examples of our weekly forums. And this is the forum that we're using for week 1. And we have just information, why it's important to select certain things, how it alleviates instructor workload as well. And we try to include that type of feedback throughout the development of the course template. How does it affect your workload? How does it make things easier for you, your students? And how does it actually help to promote learning and to keep things better organized as well? And as you can see, we also here listed our Quality Matters standards that we actually linked our course shell through. And I do have another poll for you at this time. And I want to know, do you think that creating Quality Matters navigation and organization in a template for faculty is an advantage or a disadvantage? And while you are kind of answering these questions, I really wanted to kind of go and start that we really try to start in a Quality Matters frame of mind where the faculty members are training in the best practices for online design. One of the activities that we use is we actually what we did was we had our faculty members use the Quality Matters standards and have to identify them in the course shell and actually give our course shell a grade. And they would have to go through just the list of standards that are unannotated so that they could actually go and see, was the item there or not there? And we're not quite going up to APPQMR standards or to higher Quality Matter standards. We're really trying to focus more on just at least having them be able to identify if it's there or not there, present or not present. And we also work to set the bar with quality standards so that faculty members will hopefully emulate our best practices with their students. And it also enabled us to push out an experience that worked around this lack of administrative buy-in. We were able to go and meet with the faculty, work with their concerns, address their concerns throughout this whole process of getting the syllabus ready through the course template, which would then hopefully go on to curriculum committee review and then providing them with the Immersion Workshop and the course template to be able to identify more information and give more information as well about Quality Matters and about just online training and online training best practices as well. One of the big disadvantages that we had was actually face-to-face faculty pushback. And faculty members were always asking the question of, will the students truly learn from this online model? And that was always one of the big concerns. And we mostly addressed that in the beginning through one of Karen Swan's Learning Effectiveness articles, which does a great job at defining that there is no significant difference between online and face-to-face when community of inquiry and those models are applied to go and create that educational experience that takes place in the community of inquiry. And the other big disadvantage was also the time that we invested in the design and production of this three-pronged approach. And I just want to see what your responses are. So everybody definitely says that there is an advantage, which is always that good part of it. And to move on a little bit more to the Immersion Workshop. We offer it about 3 to 4 times a year. We're probably going to offer it more this year because of just the coronavirus and the concerns and how it has changed our community. We are also currently in the process of rehabbing it to better address some of the issues from the curriculum committee and to go and make that process more concrete and defined and have multiple sections. And at this time, it's not required university-wide to complete our workshop, but it is strongly recommended by some schools and departments. The one issue that we're having is there is really no particular incentive beyond just the fact that we know that by the end of this course, if they complete it with us, engage with us in the process, and do our optional build activities throughout, they will have approximately 30% of their course already finished and completed and ready to go. Another concern from faculty has always been, it does take a significant amount of time. It takes about 4 to 5 hours per week to participate. And you do have to have a basic knowledge of Blackboard in order to go and participate. What we have been able to do is we have in previous times, we have given out certificates, and we have also done badging through Credly after people have completed the 4-week course and completed all of the assessments to, once again, that better than average standard. And we have also issued out letters from the provost as well on their behalf, so that they have those letters as well to go and reflect on and to hopefully show forward, especially since we have a lot of younger faculty taking this. People who are just kind of at the start of their career, they're still existing graduate students or ABDs who are still also working towards making sure they have enough professional development to make themselves more applicable on the job market as they go forward. And as we go through this course, we cover community of inquiry with the Karen Swan article, and now with an Anderson article that we use to discuss community of inquiry and how student presence, instructor presence, and cognitive presence all work together to build that. We have also previously used Roger Moore's modes of interaction, and modes of interaction is another model. It pretty much lays exactly on top of community of inquiry, and it just goes to go and support that multiple researchers have found that over time, this kind of 3-pronged approach of online learning really does work, and that it's kind of in that middle of those 3 sections that everything takes place. We also address myths and misperceptions of online learning, that, oh, it's just a course that's going to run itself. There is no interaction with students. I don't actually get to know my students. And we also cover designing and facilitating robust discussions. And as we design and facilitate these robust discussions, we really want to go and address, why is discussion important in the online environment? How does this engage in student presence? How does it engage with instructor presence? And how do we engage with each other and create this community? We also cover organization of content and navigability, so that we're creating courses that are all formatted correctly. Everything complies to basic sets of standards and principles, so that they understand that their students need help accessing content and being able to go and find information and move forward. We cover designing a student assessments. Many faculty members at our school were still of the perception that you can take the exact same assignment and post it online and it will work, when in many cases you actually need to rethink the assignment and to redesign it to go and better meet your learning objectives and to better meet the online modality that you're going to be teaching in. We also cover grading for accountability. So we cover, should items actually be graded? Should discussion be graded? Should quality of discussion be graded? And we cover self-assessment and online reflections. So we also have the different self-assessments throughout this program and this immersion workshop, where we actually have our faculty members engage with us and complete some reflection, the metacognitive path, so that they can go and see, where did I start from before I actually took this course, and where did I finish at the end of it? And what do I currently think while we're taking this course? One thing I also just want to quickly show, we also have the tags over here for Oscar and Quality Matters to go and show, just, we have our welcome message. These are what it aligns to in best practices, so that we can also go and showcase those. And we also try to go and schedule this about 8 to 12 weeks before the semester that they will be teaching in, so that we give the instructor enough time to actually build the course out completely. That's one of our biggest recommendations, that the course gets completely built out ahead of time to help save you on workload during the course itself, so you can focus more on facilitating and less on gathering documents and resources. We also have the instructor make sure to model the modes of interaction. This does require a lot of instructor presence and making sure that the instructor is there, present, and active in the course itself, so that they're able to go and engage with the course, engage with the students, and to also showcase how important the instructor role is in the online environment. This goes to some of Alexandra Pickett's and Peter Shea's work from SUNY Albany, on that instructor presence actually helps to promote better cognitive and student presence inside these online courses, because by being an active instructor, you're actually encouraging your students to engage more with each other and more with the content. We do normally try to cap the course previously at about 21, but due to current circumstances, we have definitely been adding more to that. And we have started to co-teach it as well with 2 instructors to go and accommodate the extra workload as well. And we do address quality matters in our navigability module. When we do our navigability module, we cover quality matters so that the instructors are actually going through the process of looking at the quality matters, just the broad criteria, not the APPQMR rubric, and using that to just go and see, is it there or not there? Once again, we're just trying to create that first level of awareness about it. We're not necessarily trying to bring them to a course reviewer status. We just want to start that and build that awareness kind of in that stealth mode that we were doing. And we usually address the accessibility dilemma during this course at some point. And the accessibility dilemma is, how much do I need to make my course accessible? And we usually try to address those questions as well, and how to best facilitate those inside of your course. And we also allow faculty members to request a course build review from us. So after the course is completed and the course is finished, we do allow our faculty members to request the opportunity for us to evaluate and look over the course for them, so that we can go and give them any feedback, any recommendations, either based on Quality Matters or OSCAR, the Open SUNY rubric again, that we can give them information on what they can use to take that course to the next step. And while we were working on this, immersion definitely has a lot of pros and cons about it. And for our perspective, we really liked the fact that it gave them the student's perspective. For some of our faculty members, they are veteran faculty members, they have been faculty members for a long time, and it's been quite a while since they've actually been back in that student perspective, much less in the online environment. They're not quite 100% sure of how the students are engaging online, how the students are working online, what do they do? And it's also just been a long time since they've actually been a student. So giving them the opportunity to once again be the student, to learn through the activities, to go through the process with us, actually really helps to formulate a better opinion of online learning, because they're actually able to work through that process. We also gave it the pro of having the Quality Matters design. So by modeling Quality Matters aligned design and using OSCAR as well, we're actually able to go and show best practices. We're able to show how it works with best practices. We're also able to show that it's working with, these are rubrics that are affiliated with outside standards. These are why we work to meet them. And we also try to go through that process with them of showing Quality Matters design and influencing their design from that perspective. This is a good course. Here's how it aligns to best standards and best practices and rubrics, and also giving them the template in that format. The other benefit is that we really try to encourage a deep understanding of the modes of interaction in the community of inquiry model, Roger Moore's modes of interaction and the community of inquiry. And the reason we try to go and do that is we try to go and really reflect a community of inquiry ourselves. We really try to go and create that significant community where we're able to go and learn together from each other and have that instructor presence, make sure we have our students interacting with each other and creating a great experience for each other, and that they're able to go and learn through the cognitive aspects as well. It also has the side effects of actually building their confidence. Many faculty are significantly more confident moving forward in their online teaching after they have taken the immersion course, because they're able to reflect on that student experience again. And it actually is able to give them a better perspective to move from as they move forward. And we think it also significantly debunks the myth of no interaction. Online courses, as we all know, definitely require significant degrees of interaction in order to be successful. And we try to go and work through that with our instructors. And for many of them, the way that we host the course and with our instructor presence, we're actually able to go and say, we know each other significantly by the ends of these courses. They know each other as a group of students and as a community significantly well as by the end as the student experience is concluded. And it really goes to help show how impactful that community is. And it also really helps to debunk that myth of no interaction as an instructor. Our downsides: it is definitely time consuming for the workshop facilitators. Myself and Carol can definitely speak to that. I recently was tallying up the time for the last one I held. I had about 30 students in that section. And I think I spent about 40 hours or more just completing the workshop. And that wasn't even starting to get involved with grading everything. So it definitely can be time consuming because of the role and that the instructor presence plays in this immersion experience. And previously, we also had a drop rate around 30%. I had an outlier this time in which I lost only one student instead of my 30. So it definitely does have a significant drop rate on the whole. And this drop rate definitely does affect things, but I think it also really helps to, many of the faculty members who have dropped out have come back and successfully experienced it because they understood further the time commitments that were involved, and they themselves were then in a better place to do it. So even though it's definitely a negative, it has in many cases also turned out to be a positive, because then they were better able to go and experience the online education for themselves, and they were in a better place to actually create more significant experiences for their students. The other challenge that we have is faculty buy-in for a 4-week experience. We're now actually changing this to be a 2-week and a 3-week experience. But getting buy-in for 4 weeks of homework and classes and content and reading things is definitely one of the biggest challenges that we had. And that was where we kind of had our big struggle, trying to get the buy-in. Once we had gotten the buy-in, either from the department, the recommendations, or even the faculty members that were participating themselves, they were fully on board for the full week experience. And once they actually completed it, the reflections that they had at the end were absolutely incredible. In many cases, many of them had complete 180s of opinion on online learning, and they had really fantastic ideas for how they wanted to showcase the community of inquiry in their own classes, and had full strategies on how they would move forward with their courses, their course development, and how they would engage with their own students and student population. And I have one more poll for you. And which of the following do you think is the most advantageous for faculty learning? Previously to this, we mostly went on a face-to-face model or a consultant-based model where we were actually just involved with the faculty members one-on-one rather than trying to engage with everybody separately. And just while you're taking the poll, and some of the feedback that we received from our faculty members was, by taking this course, I was able to restructure the organization of the course for compliance with standards and best practices. The 3 different types of interaction that any successful online course must have in place really helped me to design my syllabus and my assessments. And just, I think, one more. And the many teaching and learning modes that were employed, the online training workshop was designed as an online class. Immersion is actually the best way to learn. And these were after and in their final reflections that they disclosed with us. And last one, the workshop really highlighted the importance of having a well thought out, well-designed class all ready to go on the first day of the semester. One of the things that we definitely try to encourage our faculty members to understand is that online courses definitely have a higher workload. But because it is an online course, you can definitely front load your work before the semester starts. And the more that you can front load and have ready the day the course begins, the better options you will have later on, and the more time you will actually have to focus on your students and your students' interaction. And I really like to see that a lot of you picked the blended or the online methods. I definitely think that blended has a great approach as well. And I think as a whole, our approach definitely is a little bit more towards the blended end. And the reason is because while our immersion itself is online, and that's like our deep training into online, we still interact with all of these faculty members. We still meet with them. We still have consults to address syllabus reviews and to address learning objectives and other topics as well. So there's a lot of different options available. And I really think one of the best things you can also do is to interact with your faculty members, and you have to find that space where you are both ready to meet. And I really kind of want to tie this up a little bit more towards the end. And it really is, what is my challenge for you at the end? And I'm going to address questions after this. And my challenge for you is, what are some possible ways that you can integrate Quality Matters thinking into your faculty development efforts? And that's one of the best things that I think that you can think about. What are the possible ways that you can integrate that Quality Matters thinking into the development? How can you use Quality Matters in a way to go and better influence them? So right now I'm going to just shift back over. And I just want to bring up Carol. Were there any questions that we had at that time that we would like to address?
Yes, we have a question from Russ Adkins, and his question is, he would like to understand why Stony Brook uses both the QM and the OSCAR rubrics. Does OSCAR have elements that are not fully addressed in the QM rubric?
So part of it is OSCAR is free and open source. All of its annotations are also free and open source. So we like to use OSCAR as partly an introduction to quality review and rubrics, because the faculty members have full access to all of the rubrics and the tools themselves. OSCAR, OSCQR, I'm just going to type that in. And one of the benefits also of it is that it's also aligned with Open SUNY. And yes, I always joke around, my Oscar has a first name. And that was how you helped remember it. So OSCAR is free, it's completely open source. Anybody can go and give an OSCAR review or take an OSCAR review themselves. There is a dashboard that functions within Google Drive that faculty members can use to go and complete a review themselves or a self-review. And they don't have to go and take any training to do it, although we still recommend meeting with us prior to go and do it. It's also linked in with videos and other options that have been recorded by faculty members across SUNY, and it was developed with influences by the 64 SUNY campuses that we are a part of. So that's part of why we also chose to integrate OSCAR into the process as well. Our original design was completely built with Quality Matters. And as OSCAR kind of got more refined, we actually found that we liked some of the elements in it, but it was still missing parts that Quality Matters does better. Quality Matters has a commitment to alignment that is much better than OSCAR. And it also has a better relationship with learning objectives than OSCAR does. OSCAR just includes that learning objectives must be present and measurable. It does not go into the detail that is required for Quality Matters review. So that's why we try to use OSCAR as kind of, here's an introduction. Try this out, see what you think, and here's our opinion based on this set of criteria. And then we are planning, hopefully, to use that as a launch pad to then move into a more formal QM review. Our school does not currently at this time engage in a formal QM review process, but we are in the planning for it, and we do hope to eventually work towards that as well. Are there any other questions?
Yes. Yes, we have a question from Maria Haas. She said, would you give me the name of the person you mentioned who said there is no difference between online and face-to-face learning? Just for reference, thank you.
Oh, that is Karen Swan's article. Karen Swan's learning effectiveness article that she wrote with the Online Learning Consortium when it was Sloan C. The Sloan Consortium. She wrote that article at that time. You can also email me, and I will show my email at the end, and I will go and give that article to you as well. I have a copy. And a lot of Karen Swan's articles are really fantastic, particularly her work with community of inquiry. She did a lot of work, as I said, on the overlap of modes of interaction and community of inquiry to go and show that there are multiple research models that agree to the same standards. Any more questions? Or do you want to go and see the template, the rubric, sorry, do you want to see the course template, the shell, or the immersion course, also the syllabus? I can show one of those.
Yes, Charles asked early in the session if you could show us the course shell, please.
Okay. So the course shell is over here. And it currently has a few extra things added to it because we're in the middle of some technology change at the university. So we have our faculty information that we start off with when we open that up. We actually have how to add your information, and we also show which standard it aligns with inside of QM. We also keep them hidden so that the faculty members can use these items as a checklist. So they can make the change, get rid of our item, or they can keep it if they want to, just to have the template of how to get started. We have our Start Here section. We have the items that should be ideally included and just exemplars of them so that they can go and take a look. What are some things that you can do in your Start Here area? We also have our syllabus, an example of some syllabi that have been checked over and that we have examples of. And we also have our checklist. We have our course materials section where we have an outline of a first module where they're able to go in and see what should be listed inside of it, which QM standards it's currently aligning to. And we also have other options that are available and who to contact as well when you're interested in maybe using the module feature inside of Blackboard, or maybe instead taking more advantage of your course menu space and using that better. We also have some sample assignments. And we have the QM standard listed for where assignments fall, even if they don't actually have the description, just to go and show that it's still aligning to best practices. We try to work more with the faculty members themselves on an individual basis at this time to go through the learning objectives, the assignments, and the activities on using Understanding by Design or Blackboard's design in order to go and address the alignment concerns throughout. Were there any other questions, or did anybody want to see the other templates?
Yes, we have a question from let's see, somebody that would like to see the workshop. So
Okay.
The workshop, yeah. Thank you.
So this was the workshop that I just finished teaching in this this past March. It started right before the coronavirus and it ended right after it all started. So we have different messages throughout. I post video announcements frequently as a way of showing my engagement and my instructor presence. I do those for wrap-ups at the end of the module. We have our information for our syllabus where we've aligned with OSCAR and QM standards. And here is where we really can showcase a little bit more of the alignment and how the alignment works, because we include those types of standards throughout. And we have our different activities. We also try to do a raffle to incentivize it a little bit. And one of the things that we also do a lot is we try to go and make sure that we have everybody on a good schedule and a good calendar. So we actually create Google calendars that they can use with all the major assignment deadlines in them so that they can add that to their own calendar and get reminders. We also have the checklist under the syllabus so that they can download the checklist and use that throughout the course to actually check off things as they go. If anybody's taken the Quality Matters certification courses, it's very similar to the ones that they use there. And we list the dates available so that they have all the information as they're going through and they can just cross things off as they're finished. And we include what are the startup tasks and what are the due dates.
Jennifer, there are more questions. So one question is from Maria, and it's about online classes having a higher workload. And she wants to know what best practices address good student to teacher loads. I don't know if she means ratios.
Do you mean student to student numbers? Or you can always write that in the chat pod, I can see that.
Okay.
Do you mean the student population, of course? No?
Well,
So, some training for workload in general. My first one is at one time, how many students should a teacher have? Part of that really depends on the nature of the course and also the comfort level of the instructor. For my part, I generally prefer to stick under 25, but that's also because I run high discussion classes and I find it's very hard to keep track of when the class starts to get above 30. 25 is kind of my happy spot. By the time I'm hitting 30, I'm usually kind of like, what happened? There's a bit too much going on. So at least that's my own personal recommendation for it. The more kind of concrete assessments that you have, if you are using more features like tests and quizzes as part of the development of your course rather than discussion-based courses, you can probably start to raise your numbers higher. Stony Brook right now is working on creating some research around high enrollment online classes, but we do not have enough information available yet at this time to go forward with it, but it is kind of in progress.
Okay,
So,
we have a question from Cesar. He's asking, can we see the syllabus template?
yes.
Okay, and then also, if you can share some of your favorite resources for research-based online teaching, or a book that you recommend for new online instructors.
So one book that I definitely recommend is the Faculty Workload book by Maria, and I forget her last name. Let me just look it up really quickly. Actually, it's in my course because I offer it for a raffle. Hang on. Here it is, Managing Online Instructor Workload by 2011 by Josie Bass. That's actually a very great book on managing instructor workload and how to go and work with it. I also recommend, hence why we also usually raffle it off. We're not quite doing raffles right now, but it is an option as well. And for the online syllabus template, here is actually our template. We have it available on our website. It is Creative Commons licensed, just with attribution. So feel free to go and use that and share it from our website. If you need information about that, you can just Google Stony Brook and CELT, and we should pop up, and our syllabus template should also pop up. And you can go and take a look. So we have our comments throughout the document. And you can see how we've aligned to different standards, because some standards actually align better with different rubrics, which is why we started to add OSCAR in as well. And I also have a copy of the QM one that I can pull up later. Hang on.
And Natasha wanted to know if you would be willing to share the template checklist.
Yes, I would. I actually think I've already given the checklist to QM as well, so it should be available with the documentation afterwards.
And Anna Conway wanted to know if you could show us the course site template, or did you do that already?
Yes, I did. That course site template is the shell.
Mm-hmm.
That was this one where I actually have the models built in with the Quality Matters standards listed. And just to go back and show the syllabus a little bit more, all of the commentary is available. We have all of the different standards for QM or OSCAR or both as needed, so that we list those in those comments and annotations. And what I just generally recommend with faculty is they're working through it, just delete the comment as they're finished, because they've addressed the issue that's involved.
Oh, Danielle missed the start of the presentation, so she wanted to know, is this something that online or blended instructors are required to participate in order to teach online?
For our particular instances, they are not required to go and take it online, although some departments are requiring it. It's more not even on a school-wide or an institution-wide basis. It's kind of little pockets within the school that are starting to require it in order to teach online. So it's more that their chairs are saying you should take this before you teach online.
So two more questions. One is, how would you suggest modifying your approach for an even faster online teaching transition? For example, when you have non-credit continuing education courses, what features might you modify for faster online transition?
So for faster online transition, this is some of the things that we are kind of starting to address. We definitely have found, at least for ourselves, there needs to be a higher increase on learning objectives than we previously did. We used to cover less on learning objectives because we addressed those in one-on-one sessions with the faculty members prior to taking this course. And now we've actually kind of folded those into this course itself, and it's all still in progress. We're all still actually in the process of rebuilding it right now. But we are including more on learning objectives. That's definitely the information that I think needs to be available to faculty members and made available early. One of the tools that we have that we use frequently is we've created a Bloom's wheel for faculty members. We have physical copies, which I don't have available because I left them at my office. And we have a digital copy as well. Our digital Bloom's wheel actually will allow you to go and move the wheel, find the objective, create the assessment that helps to measure it, and any activities that also help to support it. It also links back to and has models of learning objectives that they can also showcase. So let me go and pull that up. Oops,
Jen, when you have a second, I'd like to jump in as well.
Yes, definitely, Linda.
There's also a question from Caesar asking if we would be willing to share the template file.
That one we can definitely talk about. I would recommend sending me an email. I will go and have my email available soon, and we can definitely go and see about sharing that. I just want to run it past our director first. But our syllabus template has been made Creative Commons licensed, so you can definitely access that part.
So this is Linda, Jen's co-presenter. I presented this same model that she's discussed at the QM National in Texas this past fall. First, I just want to thank my colleague, Carol, for spotting me. Thank you, Carol. I had a medical issue earlier this morning and wasn't sure I was going to get in on time, but I'm here now, and I wanted to thank both of them for just being flexible under the circumstances. I also wanted to respond to Marcy's question about making the transition even quicker. It's a little tough because you have to balance training faculty properly with getting them up and running quickly. And so one of the key factors for us in doing that was to create their Blackboard sites from a template that had exemplars in it. So every single section of the template has an exemplar that they can either edit or remove and put up their own, but at least this way they can see what should be there in their course and how it should be structured. And that has been very helpful for people. To refer specifically to her point about non-credit is, in my experience anyway, very different from credit, because most non-credit courses that I have been asked to help with have few or no deliverables, and they also have few or no assessments. So one of the things that I've tried to do is work with a subject matter expert to get them to see the value of having one or the other, either deliverables that are kind of like pass-fail or actual assessments. So that has helped. But I also wanted to point out that Quality Matters has a rubric for non-credit courses. So you might want to look into that with your QM coordinator. I believe it requires an additional licensing fee, but it's fairly inexpensive if you're already a QM member.
So we did insert the link to our online taxonomy wheel. The link is in the chat box if you'd like to take a look.
Mm-hmm. And I included our emails as well. Feel free to email us or to reach out and contact us. We're more than happy to go and help and to talk with you about issues. And thank you so much for coming and joining us today.
Thank you, everyone.